This is Trent from Wisconsin Lighting Lab, and today we're going to show you how to replace a driver on our Helios fixture. This will apply to the 3, 6, 9, and 12 engine Helios. First thing you want to do is you make sure to disconnect your input power to the fixture. And you'll need a Phillips screwdriver to remove the cover for the electric junction box. Make sure you save these screws and the gasket. Once you get the cover open, you'll need side cutters to cut the zip ties. Make sure you don't cut into any of the wires. And these are just lever nuts. Disconnect the electrical box cover from the rest of the wiring. You can set that aside to be reinstalled later. Next thing we're going to do is remove the driver cover from the fixture. In most cases it's just 6 Phillips screws. Make sure to save those screws as well. You'll need them to reinstall the cover. You can also remove the second junction box cover so that you just have more access to all the wiring inside. Now the driver that will need to be replaced is dependent on which bank of LEDs is out. Top, middle, and bottom. They should coincide with the 3 rows on the front of the fixture. So once you've identified the bad driver, we'll go ahead and remove that one. First thing you need to do is disconnect all the input wires. You will see output wires for the drivers. They are red and blue coming off the driver. We're going to just disconnect the red and the blue wire attached to the faulty driver and cut the zip tie. Now you'll have to locate the dimming lead associated with the faulty driver as well. And go ahead and cut that zip tie. Now we have to loosen all of these cord grips so that we can pull the cords out of the junction box. You have to make sure that you hold the nut at the base of the cord grip and loosen the outer nut. It's best if you loosen this outer nut all the way. It just makes it easier to take off. You might have to grind down a wrench in order to get into the tight quarters here. Just make sure you hold the body of the cord grip in place when you loosen the outer nut. Inside the junction box there's just conduit nuts holding it on, so it can be retightened. The dimming wires, all 3 of them go into one 3-hole cord grip, typically in the center of the junction box. You can just slide the one in and out to identify which set of dimming wires need to be removed. Take the lever nuts off and pull the dimming lead out. Next we'll pull the input wire out. Make sure you don't lose this cap. You can just barely start the threads again so it stays with the fixture. And the output to the LEDs, same thing. And there are 4 screws holding the driver to the chassis of the fixture. That's how you remove the driver. Now we'll reinstall it. Make sure you get these screws all started before you tighten any of them down. Now we'll go ahead and reinstall the dimming wire first. Locate the empty hole in the 3-position cord grip. You have to feed the 3 wires in carefully. Make sure they all go in, and then push the entire cord through. want to make sure that where the cord comes out of the driver, you're not putting any tension on it there. It should be relaxed here and at the cord grip. We're gonna go ahead and tighten these to 26 inch-pounds. Do the input wire next. We're just working our way from the inside out. Just gives you more room to work. You want to just slide this in. One thing you want to make sure is that there's slack at the back end of the driver as well, so you're not putting any tension on the cord where it exits the driver. It should come out straight and then loop back around. And finally, the output for the LEDs. Again, just make sure you're not pulling any tension on this where it exits the driver. You can leave a little slack out here even, and then tighten the cord grip. First thing we'll do is we'll put the caps back on the dimming wires. You're going to want to have a few zip ties on hand. We'll zip tie all the dimming wires for all the drivers back together. And just trim the excess. I'll tuck these down inside the junction box as you won't need them anymore. Next we'll connect the input wires for the LEDs. The red goes to the red and the blue goes to the black. Want to zip tie all of those together. Tuck that down inside the fixture in the junction box. And we've got all the input wires for all three drivers. We'll feed back over here. We'll reconnect the lever nuts. All the blacks go together. All the whites go together and all the greens go together. We'll tuck some of the excess back into the junction box, just so we have enough to work with. Put the junction box cover back on. Make sure the surface is clean and the gasket is not deformed in any way. Start the screws. You can go ahead and tighten this one down. We'll take the driver cover. It's best to start all these screws by hand so you don't cross thread them accidentally. And we'll take the cover that we removed earlier and reconnect it to all of the drivers. White to white, black to black, and be sure to hook up both greens. We'll zip tie all of those together. We'll take the screws that we removed earlier and feed them back through. It helps keep the gasket in the correct place. And you want to tuck all of the input wires down into the junction box. Make sure that none of the wires are getting pinched in between the cover and the junction box itself, and that the gasket is centered on the cover. Make sure that you can see the gasket all the way around the cover so that we get a proper watertight seal.